We are in online live. I think yes, we are.
Okay, I will start anyway. So welcome everyone who is here in Riga, in University of Economics and Culture. We are like a coffee. I'm Evgenia. I'm partner and talent manager here in Riga in Latvia. And today we are welcoming Janos, our senior developer, mid-step developer, and also mentor of our local Latvian team. He is from Hungary, and he will do mid-stack, small mid-stack workshop for you, just to see some basics, to have some understanding about what we do, and to get some insights. I will probably not go too deep in selling about like a coffee. I will do it later here in Riga, some Saturday when we agree with Yuri. And for now, I would like to focus fully on mainstack, and I would like to give a floor to Janos. So, and actually, hello to everyone who is seeing and watching us live on YouTube. I hope that it works and it will be recorded, and then everyone who wants will be able to see it. So, welcome, Janos.
So, welcome everybody. I'm Janos. I'm from Hungary, as Evgenia said. Since we are in delay, I should hide this. Since we are in delay, where is my mouse? We should start. Question to you, all of you. Raise hands who is familiar with JavaScript, at least some interaction with JavaScript before. 1, 2, so, 3, so. Okay, that's something. Familiar with version controlling, GitLab. Great. You are now a little bit less shy than the JavaScript. I would like you to go to these 2 links and save the application, save the link, and pull the application. We will going to delete this code, and if something happens, like we slide out from time, slide out during it, then you can still revisit it and take different commits and take a look at code at yourself if you are interested. So during the course, I would like to install like Node.js with you. With Node.js Node Package Manager will come Node.js and an editor, Node.js Angular and an editor tool. I use Microsoft Visual Code. Maybe you are already familiar with it. It has some nice syntax highlighting and code auto-completion, so I just like to use it, and I will share my print screens based on that tool. Okay, let me know some smiling faces or some comments if you are able to visit the links to pull them, or you will move into them later on as we progress, right? We are speaking about mean stack. Mean is so mean is a shortening of the words from Mongo, Express, Angular, and Node.js. What is Mongo? Mongo is a nosql database which stores data in some kind of binary JSON. So if you are familiar with JSON, then everything should be familiar for you. Handling the data in Mongo, even if you like to write SQL queries, I'm sorry to say, here you will have no chance to write SQL queries. As you would like to do queries are built just a JSON object passed to the database. Even since it's very close to JavaScript, even you can pass some JavaScript functions to server too. Angular. It is a completely new redesign of AngularJS, powered by Google. The same team members, I think I did about twice or maybe more times. And now the current 5, we will do with Angular 4. Angular 5 is too new for me even, so I will do it for Angular 4. Angular is a web, so it's a JavaScript framework for creating web applications. Node.js, it's JavaScript running on the server side. Before that, it was so that JavaScript can be only run on browsers on the client side. Node.js is handling that issue for us. The goal of having Node.js is that one language, knowing JavaScript, would be sufficient to cover the front end and back end too, to build when we are speaking about application building. Node itself, the process was written in C++, but we are using JavaScript on the server side as interpreter language. Express is one of the HTTP modules for Node.js, but for today it became the standard what everybody is referring to it, that this is the HTTP server for Node.js. You will see it's like 5 line of configuration and it's available for us. So let's start. As the first, if you do not have already, I would like to ask you to download from Node.js the current version of Node.js. How many users are not using Windows? Raise hands. You are using Linux or Mac. So for you, you can download Node version manager. It's basically the same. You should get this link and run in that. It will install you NVM. And with NVM, we have the freedom of choosing different version, to having different version of Node.js available for us. Unfortunately, I didn't see yet stable version for Windows. I don't say that it's not existing yet, I just didn't say. Currently, I'm not using that much Windows as operating system. Please give me some feedback how you are downloading, or you are just watching, or already went through installation. Okay. Till we are waiting to download, we will have yet another download. Maybe you can, if you want, you can tell something about you, about your focus on the school, what you would like to learn, what you would like to learn from the presentation itself.
So you can speak freely. We will be just filming Janos looking at you.
Oh, I'm filmed already.
So we can start with Yuri. So and then everyone is will be brave to speak after him. You know.
Okay, hello to everyone. I'm, if anyone don't know, I am the program director of this University of Information Technology program. And together with Evgenia, we are trying to make some cooperating, yes, in such kind, which we are can organize some presentation or workshops for our students. And so we are here, and I'm very glad there are about almost 10 students. They make some interesting in this stuff what you are trying to present us and to make us to try to create something. And so I think that's all from my side. Yes, maybe some students want to
or something.
Or if
Let's wait, go one by one at least.
I think if they are shy or just they would like to go forward, that's okay for me. If install is done or
It's done for me.
so 1,
It's done for me as well.
2, 3.
The last one.
Okay. Then we could wait.
For doing interaction, maybe then you can raise your hands. Who is year 1?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first year, yes.
Yeah.
Second year. No, second year, third. So maybe third, and then last year. So 2 for last year, yes. Okay. So many third.
Okay, great. Okay, just to confirm that you had installed Node.js, you should start the command. I mean, just telling you ahead, you should start the command line interface and type like node space -v. That would list you the current version of Node, what you have installed, and prove that Node is added to the path. It should be like 8 point something or 9 point something.
You have a reference here.
Node is not defined. Yeah, but you are already in Node.
Oh, right.
So you should just write exit or quit. With regular methods, like calling a function exit. Not with square, but with exit and then just simple brackets. Like that. No, and then Control C should do. Not just kill it by X.
Yeah.
And like some of the
I'm going to launch CMD.
yes, in the end. Let's see. Let's see now Node. If it's in the path. Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay.
So one success. That's small but success. Okay, then we can move right. This would be the goal. Simple, slow, not too much, but hopefully it will cover the part that I would like to show you about Angular and Node. I know that here is a typo error. Yeah, I made a print screen, then I was lazy to make another one. So yeah, it's like that. We have Node. With Node together, npm Node package manager is coming. There are some people who are stating that Node package manager has the world's biggest freely available database of available packages and programs and so on. I would like to ask you to type this, go to some folder in your path what you prefer to do. It will at the moment this will install globally Angular, so it will be available everywhere. But later on we will create a folder where we would move and where we would create our application. We are telling npm, please install globally from Angular CLI. Later we will install with npm also just locally, and we will cover some development dependency too. It's also taking some time. The first time it takes some time. Afterward, npm will cache those packages that now are being installed as a dependency. Those packages will be cached in your PC. And if those are required and not get too old, then they will be used and it will take less time.
So, small problem.
Yes, please. Okay, I will hand over the mic because the cable is. You can close your piece and if you do like now.
On this one.
Come on. This is my first interaction with mine, so I have to get used to it. Maybe until it's instant, I would like to know if you are following the live stream. If there are any questions, somebody raise their hand during the live stream. Maybe we can address those questions too.
No questions. But so everyone here is now that they can ask.
Okay. Great. Also, it's for audience through YouTube. Raise your hands, or better write, because if you do raise your hands, I won't see that. So better write on channel and we can address those questions. Colleague, you are the first one, and I can see your screen.
Yeah.
So I will take a pic and I will use you as a reference where everybody is stated with installing the stuff, okay?
Right.
If you don't mind.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Unfortunately, we have to wait for it. Later on, so just about structure of the presentation, I plan to do that we install Node.js, Angular, we create some Angular components, and we can even use later on the material from version control to be a little bit quicker, because otherwise there would be a lot of typing for you. I did it once, I won't type it once again. Otherwise it would be a lot of typing for you, and we would be out of time in no time. It's kind of silly to say out of time, but in no time. Yeah. And in the, let's say, second part of the presentation, we should even create a Node.js application running the web server for our to-do application. Okay, one success here. It should give you a summary about what has been installed.
Yes.
Sometimes
931 packages.
yes, sometimes it's happening that we'll give some warnings, or I have been seeing that it creates some errors, but afterward it's still working. Yeah. Let me know, others. Done. Ooh. Okay, so we created the CLI. This is command will create a new application for you, so you should create this application when it's convenient for you. If you started your CMD, it would be somewhere in like C/user/some username or so. For the Linux operator colleague, it should be something like home/username, something like that. Out of box when you start the terminal. Move to your preferred location and you say ng like Angular, new, and the application name. And it will create a folder with this name, and also it will create an empty project structure with some basic Angular application. Let's say the first empty application. And if this finish, the next command what you need to run, Windows, you change your current working directory to that application, and there just to list out the existing folder structure what Angular has been created for you, and this second one is for the Linux operated colleagues. So change there and list all files. And if you type, you have to be in this directory, what you have just created with ng-new. If you do ng-serve, then it will serve your build and serve your application. The first time it's taking quite long because it has to compile all the stuff you just installed. The next times, as you leave it running, this ng-serve, so it will monitor you as you are adding or editing new files to your system, and it will recompile it almost in no time. And if you go to your browser, it's not visible, localhost and port number 4200, you should see this default welcome to app screen.
Can you show the comments which were before?
Sure. Which one you need?
Yeah, this one, yeah.
Okay. So this is for Win, this is for not Win. Maybe not the best language. So this is for Windows operating system, and this is for the others.
Can you please show how to create new application?
Yeah, ng-new and the application name.
Yes, still no. Extract it.
Okay. And yes, the live presentation is kind of tricky, and we just started on that. If you think that we should make a break or you have some proposals, just let me know, and I'm welcome to welcome to answer your questions about speaking. Okay.
We can move forward.
We can move. And what about the others? Are you able to start? Oh, next, once again, we download, we install from code.visualstudio.com. I would like to use this editor. You have to just download. It would be like 50 megabytes. So, if I'm not wrong, so it should be quite fast, and the install should be also good, also fast. Maybe we should do the opposite next time, that I state what you have to download and install, then I will start to speak about Mongo, Angular, and the rest, and the machines can download in the background. Of course, if you have some other preferred editor, you can do that, so it's not mandatory to follow this one. I will just use this one. It's so silent. I just hear you talking. Okay, I think it's better because if you start to talk between each other, then it means that I'm doing something wrong. So, or even if you start to throw something on me, that would be a negative feedback. Yeah. Just tell me if you mind that I should take a look somewhere else.
You have to prepare something like 100 best jokes.
I could tell or speak a lot of jokes, and as I see, everybody is already passing through. But you know.
But we are live on YouTube.
Yeah. So.
And we want to stay with this record on YouTube, not in other tubes.
Yeah.
What shows the previous slide?
Yeah. It's about the starting one.
The one before that.
The changing or the install one?
Oh, no, it's a presentation box. The next slide. Yeah.
And localhost and port number 4200 on the web page. Maybe we could do it, like edit it somewhere, like plus function. It should look like this something is missing. Yeah,
There it is.
it means sometimes to missing.
It's the first time you looked it up.
I can move to the next slide. Sorry. So you have this small square icon for extensions, and please search for Angular Essentials. If it's not visible from here, you can read from the center. This don't pop up. I don't know if it's a real person or it's a name of one group, but he does quite good stuff. And install it. After you install, instead of, as you can see, I have already installed it. I see disable and uninstall. You will see something like reload or refresh. Just click on it. Click on it. It will refresh your editor, and the extension is initiated together with the editor. You can see you're still installing. You should see here.
Where we can do this Angular Essentials on the website?
Click here. When you download the editor,
Yeah.
and you start the editor, then
Is this a problem that it says get installation on?
no problem. You have no version control. It's like because she's looking for version control and it's not found. Actually, you will have here a terminal. You could try to run commands what I will say, but it will fail. For some reason, with Windows, this terminal, embedded terminal is not working so good. So I would use the CMD instead of this install. So you have installed extension is added. Wonderful. Two. Who is gonna installing? Who is gonna get 3? We are like on auction. Who is gonna get 3? Who is gonna get 3? Oh, one hand in the air. I saw that. You was like scratching your head. It was like you are gonna give us 3. Okay, hopefully when we move forward, we create our first component, and then it would be for you more just following me and doing less and trying to understand the concept of it. Then hopefully we will go faster a little bit. For those who has install code and other the extension, they can do like file, open folder, and search for that folder that you have been just created with ng new. We will load the folder structure, the project into the editor. Questions so far from the online audience?
Only Philomena said hi.
Oh, okay. Hi, Philomena. We will have to speak about components soon. I will just take a quick phrase. So when you have opened this,
Which file are you talking?
you don't need the file, you need the folder like you have created with this engine. You created a project. My folder. You just open that folder. And when it's open, just a second. I can take a look and just open the folder. Know the content. Yeah, and then open.
Okay.
On the left side, you should have the structure.
Yeah. Okay.
You have this welcome screen by default. So the default welcome screen can be closed. At the moment, it's not necessary for us. So we have the structure, folder structure. We will gonna work in this SRC folder, like source. And if you click on SRC, you will see that it's opening. We have alt folder, and that would be our working directory. We have already there the Angular component, component of dash. Yeah, this is the default entry component, and we have like app.module.dash. This is the file which bootstrapping Angular in our browser. What we have gonna do in the next few steps, we will create our first component. What is component? Component is something that is wrote there that controls a part of your screen. If imagine that you have any HTML code that is reusing, that you have to reuse time after time after time after time. Wouldn't it be easier that you have something, your own HTML tag to refer to it, and it would do the same as your, I don't know, 9, 10, or even more line of HTML code, right? For example, you have a div with some header, some content, and some body, right? You could pass, at least this is 3 lines of code if we are speaking about tables, and also if we are speaking about embedded divs, then it's also like 3 lines of code and it's repeating. What if I do this once and I'm just referring to it and I'm just passing to it header value, body value, and footer value? And even it would be more powerful if it would work with data, so it would generate it or it would require. Another component gets rendered to screen. It's literally changing the DOM of the HTML page. What is the DOM? DOM is shortening for the document object modifier model. It's for those. Basically, that is the core of a web page on your browser. As you can see in this default application, what you have created, there is this app components TS and app components HTML. The TS is TS file, TS as TypeScript. Angular 4 is using TypeScript. But if you are familiar with JavaScript, it's quite similar. I think we could refer that TypeScript is an extension of JavaScript. It's not, it's developed by Microsoft, but it's quite similar to JavaScript. So we have this TS file, we have app component class exported, where we have a local variable of title equal to app. We have this component, add component decorator, we call this one decorator, and this decorator is imported from Angular core. The component decorator consists of selector, where we define how this HTML tag will be referred in the code. So if in the code it would be like output. Then there is template URL pointing to HTML file. It could be simply template, where you would write your HTML here, then, and there is style URL or URLs, where you are pointing to your CSS, and even you can have like inline CSS there. And the HTML is looking like standard HTML with one little bit difference in the line number 4, welcome to, in double curly brackets, title. And this title is equal to this title when in the application, in the app component class. And closing in double curly brackets, this is what we call string interpolation. It comes with Angular. Other JavaScript framework also use this kind of interpolation. It basically, when Angular renders the application, it's going through and it's saying, okay, HTML core, I don't care, HTML core, I don't care, comes to this, okay, take my variable of title, replace it, and then go forward, and once again, it's HTML it doesn't care about. So at the end, you would see, welcome to app. Okay. Angular components create one by CLI. I would propose you to open a new command interface, new CMD, navigate to the struct folder what you have created for with engine, because in that previously open CMD we are still running ngserve. So let it run. Navigate to the same place and run the following command. What this command does is say, hey ng, generate component. Even these are shortened, so you could write out generated component. ng, generate component under components folder. It's not created, he will create it. Name the component add and list. It's now camel case, but it will be transferred to dash case. And we are adding specification to it that specs equal to false. Otherwise, it will generate some other. So with this, it will generate only 3 files. Otherwise, it will generate the 4th file too, which is used for testing. But we will not cover that. So I will not go into that. Yeah, this is how it looks like. If you go back to Code Studio and open your app module.ts file, you should be able to see different imports. And on line number 6, you have import add list component what you have now created. This is important for Angular to know which component it has to load into his source base. Otherwise, it would be not available. So it's imported in line number 6. And in line number 19, line number 12, it is added to the declaration variable too. And as we did it with ng command line, it did create this for us. If it would be not so, if we would create manually this file, it's possible. Then we should add manually to the app module.ts file too. Yeah. So let's edit a little bit the app components.ts file. I think what is changing here that you have to change the title to My Super To Do App. It's really up to you what kind of name you choose to add. It's just about showing that it is working. Try to go for my mic for a second.
Am I doing something wrong? Or am I well?
In this here, source has source. This is where it's imported. And component is created like this components. And the component is like yes. This is one. And here you should change the code to
Now,
yes.
and about the server.
To the localhost. We don't know the second level tools.
You mean slash?
No, just like this. Do you run and you serve?
Yeah, so it showed that I closed the previous.
You should. You can have two different combinations. Like this. You just have to navigate to this folder where you install it. You You can try hitting tab.
But it should be out.
See? Then hit the
Ah. Previously did it. It shows that everything's okay. I downloaded it through the firewall. Maybe it didn't work previously, but it showed that everything is okay.
It should go out.
Computer is very small. So, okay, we can continue. Okay.
I removed the colleague who has also a question. Sorry. Yes, please, what was your question?
No, I just want to say that.
Oh, okay. So I guess we can move. Move to the up component HTML file and change the content to it. So probably you would have now the default content what's coming from the Angular, and we would have the following ones like the container div. It's always a good idea to have one parent of your component. You can have multiple parents. I mean, this is a parent like, right? You can have multiple parents in one component, but it's always a good idea to have one parent to impose the content, the HTML code of the component. So div, create a new title, which H3 element, another div for the content, and now here we are referring to up, add and list component what we have created like 2-3 slides ago with the command line ng, g, c, so Angular generate component slash add and list. As you can see, the name has been a little bit changed with camel case into dash case. And if you would take a look in this case of the app, you would see something like it works, because when a component is created, just to show that it's working, Angular adds this it works string to it. I think it's enclosed in paragraphs. And
Check if you're sharing.
if I'm sharing, I'm like presenting to everyone. Would be something what? Or I stopped sharing. No, I stopped.
I don't see sharing now. See it like this.
Yeah, the camera. No?
Yeah, it's little bit.
With the time delay, we can do.
There's no sharing.
No sharing?
Can you show the previous, please?
I'm there.
It should be. It should be your presentation.
Okay. A second, I'm moving to that. About component, we are move forward. Sorry. And meanwhile, I will try to fix this about sharing. What I'm sharing. Screen number 2. Share. Is it better now? I think it should be okay now.
Thank you, Janos.
I guess it's
Okay.
Janos.
I guess it should be okay because from your phone I see myself.
When you're sharing, we don't see this picture.
Sorry, okay. Question, please. Okay. Because it's not recognizing the element that needs to be one. How did you slash?
Yeah. So
let's see what happens. And we have okay, come in.
Director said to change the
icon. But it's up to you what you enter. It's like screen.
even like this, yes.
You can enter anything.
And how I can see how.
Or just move the browser.
It should. Oh, I'm wrong.
Nothing. It should this one. So
I didn't change or
it marks, so if it's here like this dot, then it's like it tells that it's changed. So, it says that it was one component, because it's not. It's not.
we just we changed the this component, but not like
Actually, most of the time we should do like outputs here. Component successful.
okay.
One and two. Okay, it's missing, maybe it's missing from the one. No, okay. It's referring to test, and we can counter, right? Once again, save. Sure.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Having the same issue with the color graphics with the app and everything else.
For human position, infrastructure.
Yeah.
Alt X.
Oh, it was giving me that option later.
We'll do it like so. So you will have now two components with quite similar name, but at the end, something is not working still. Usually, this is obsolete. Something it should disappear.
Yeah, it's an actual one right here.
And also,
Yeah, thank you.
you're welcome. Well, I guess it's for those who are typing. We are done, we can move. I said we can move. Where is my mouse? Where is my mouse? Let's see the components. We are referring to each tree, adding some padding to it, aligning the test, and also we are referring to content, setting its width, and setting margin to auto. What does this mean? That it should be set alignment to. You may wonder that if I'm referencing like this, does it mean that I'm addressing all the HT element in the page? By standard application, it would mean so, but actually, Angular will on its own operate the component when if you take a look on the page source, and also in the generated CSS, it would say like and param equal to that value. So it's like enclosed, and it is only this references are only for the up component itself, and it's safely enclosed, and it's not something. I think Xcode will propose for you auto completion for the text, and also one cool feature is, for example, if you type like background color and set some hexadecimal color, then next to the color in small brackets you will see like, I don't know, background color, and then here and the hexa color, and then here between you will see in small brackets the color itself you set. It's like a visual reference back what kind of color you set. I guess nobody will classify, say like hashmark E2 B00. Which color is that? Nobody knows. At least I don't know. But it would show for you.
I think that program brackets does it as well.
I
think a program called brackets does it as well.
I think most of the modern editors are doing so. It's quite.
Yeah, a whole list of colors to choose from the code.
Some of them are even having functions that. Sorry, some of them are even having functions when you are setting background color. Then you see a color picker, and you can move your mouse over and pick color from the color picker. Okay, moving forward. You have two open, theoretically, you have two open command lines. One is for running engine serve, keep that, put away, just don't close. And the other one, where you added the component, you should run like npm install save bootstrap. It says to node package manager, please install bootstrap with the save option. Save option means that it will save reference to bootstrap to the package.json file, and this package.json file is where we are listing our dependencies for the application. It should be quite good in time to finish it, to download it. The next one, it's not enough that we install. We have to know. We have to tell Angular that it's on. Open style.css. It should be more or less on the same folder structure where source is. Just I will take a pic. Yeah, it's not inside source, but on the same. I say, am I correct?
Yeah, it's like
yeah. Or in src file or in the same structure, it should be empty for you. And here we are saying that import, please import from Bootstrap distribution CSS Bootstrap minified version of it. why we are doing it. One is that I want to show you that there are options to include third-party libraries. More or less, it would be same if we would like to include JavaScript libraries. And the second, refer to Bootstrap classes defined already. We will refer to them. Maybe here also works the auto-completion of Code Studio, so you can start to type Bootstrap, keep tab, and maybe you can like find a structure and you don't have to type in. I'm just picking here. Does it work?
No, it doesn't give me.
No, unfortunately, it's going back. So you have, unfortunately, you have to type it. So it's like bootstrap dist/css/bootstrap.min.css. Okay. Sorry. I'm looking at you. One colleague you are still typing. The others has been lost or it's done.
I have some errors.
Which cannot be. You have to have two minuses. You can say like minuses, or if you're typing words, then usually it's like two minuses. It should be the same. So minus one minus if you are using shortenings, and two minus if you are using words.
Okay.
This is not just for NPM, it's usual convention. Typing, maybe you're responding to some emails, Facebook messages, so you are typing the code. Just a few steps, and then afterwards, I will not bug you about type this, type that. I will just present, and you can follow it from the Git repositories. Okay, can we? Oh, quite a long one, right? And then this component. This is the component what we have created before. It has by default some basic content. It has like import, the component, decorator, and export class, and then this component. And here I think it would be empty for you. You should create 4 variables. By using true type script, I should declare here that this is a string type. This is also string type. This is also string type. But I skip them, and here for the to-dos, I declare that it's an array of type any, and it's an empty array. This is the nice part. One of the nice part of TypeScript, that it's checking your code. So with JavaScript, it's quite easy to declare a variable. You assign a number, then in the next step you assign a string to it. And in the third step, you would ask for the number, and the application fails because of an not known number error. If you define your variables in TypeScript, then it will check for you and it would not allow to compile if wrong value is passed. So maybe you don't have to enter this long time. We have this to-do function. It's basically in the line number 16, checking if the to-do variable has value. If no, then return, so the rest of the code is not executed. In line number 17, it pushes to our to-dos array. In line number 18, it unsets to-do variable, because to-do variable is one input field in our cases. And just in case, I wrote out to the console log the to-dos, but it's like not necessary.
The bottom part is not necessary.
Sorry?
The bottom part, the
console log is not necessary.
Ah.
This one. This had to do will be called by hitting that. I can reassure you that doing Angular working with Node.js is not always like copying from the screen, and sometimes it can be more interesting and more challenging too. We will go get these underlined. This is just linking from the editor itself that you have here like space also. But it would work. The application would work. It's just linking it, like forcing us to use some nice code structure. Actually, there is an option to edit and say our own restrictions about, for example, it can happen that I limit the number of variables, how many I allow to be defined, or if I allow kernel case, if I prefer sneak case about naming of the application, and so on.
Okay.
Okay. One are we still typing? Just approximately let me know where you are there. So how much you can
Still typing.
Still typing, and you are like here.
Oh, I'm almost finished.
Almost finished, okay. Oh, so I should search for another base. So, hiding from the camera, right?
There you are.
Okay. Honestly, did you expect when you applied for this presentation that you have to type that much? No answers?
Kinda, yeah.
Okay.
No, we were told we'll be making our own application, so I assumed making your application would involve a bit of typing. So.
But it would be better. I mean, sometimes I'm dreaming like we would have like boxes of artificial intelligence, you know.
So you could just tell it.
And I'm like doing. I want to pick this, and I want to do output of this. That would be. Then I think our work would be obsolete. So it's like the kind of like I'm sawing the wood, the trees. So how it's called like on English? I'm cutting the tree in beneath of me.
Oh,
With this
I get it.
But yet again, like 50 years ago, nobody was. Okay, probably there were some visionaries who was expecting something like this, but most of the people probably didn't think about how advanced would be the technology today.
Nobody could envision what Facebook would become.
I would not agree on this since we are all going online. It's not that I have bad feelings or positive feelings, it's I just not for online.
A couple of days ago, we had some visionaries who were not expecting typing during this workshop.
Yeah,
Then what happened?
they didn't type.
They didn't type.
Just sat there angry at the concept that they would have to type?
Like for 5 minutes, then they run away. That would be a solution too.
That is some dedication to programming. Just hang out for 5 minutes and then just bounce.
Yeah, it's depending. I mean, it's depending what you are expecting from the presentation. Do you expect like presentation, or do you expect like more workshop or more interactive stuff, or it's depending what you. You know, it's like going into theater. You want to see a theater, or in some cases, I was in theater where they are coming to you, as I'm now speaking to you, and the audience was actively part of the theater presentation. Okay, I think that we shall go forward. The component part is a little bit short and one. So we create div. You should try, when you try to tag, do not use this opening tag, just type div dot form minus group and hit tab. The editor should autocomplete, should open your div with class equal to form group. Now you don't need the first is smaller than sign. You don't need form minus group minus group and just pause. There you go. We place here an input type of text. Also, you can do it like input dot from control type, and then you can add type text. Here we are using the placeholder, input placeholder. This is the string interpolation, what I mentioned before. Then here in line number 3, we have something new. It's like in simple brackets. Key up, enter equal to up to do. Basically, it's equal to that function we created it before. What is this? This is called event listener. And we are listening to key up event. And especially we are filtering down to enter key. So when you hit enter, up to do function will fire. And in line number 4, we are saying ng model equal to to-do. You declare the to-do variable, if you remember. Actually, this is a two-way binding. Engine model is a special directive, but let's keep it as keyword. Engine model is a special directive. It uses two-way binding with this squarely and regular brackets included. It's working so that if I programmatically change the value of to do, then it will change the value of the input field. But if I type some text into input field, it will also change the value of to do variable. And in line number 5, we have this small with class from text view. The small helper is like just helper, and the closing view. Of course, you could have some own events. Later on, I will show example how you create your own events where you are listening to them. And yeah. Question, right?
Yes. It's not a question. I just have an important announce for my students. Can it takes about 1-2 minutes.
Okay. Should we go mute because we are now live and should.
Okay. I will
Okay. So let just for the audience that I will try to go now. Yep. I would go now to mute, as it's like something happened. So everyone, hello back. We have been unmute. Taking a look on the audience who have copied this from the screen, right?
Yeah.
Oh, let me. Yeah. Some more additional stuff. Some style. On Monday, one of the audience was noted that yes, I have twice margin top. It was like a question why. Honestly speaking, I don't know. It's a big error from me. So you should only have one margin top. Looking at the sequence from only margin top 20 will kick in. It will override margin 60. So this one is obsolete. As you can see, we are addressing the form group class, which is coming from Bootstrap, and we are a little bit adjusting it to our own needs.
A small question about the previous slide.
Yeah.
I'm kind of getting an error that it can't bind ng models.
Yeah, that's quite possible that you have to get that. In some step we will, in next step we will handle that.
Normal error, right?
Yeah, it has to be there. Actually, we will have to import an ng form in the modules. but like probably there are other editors that are doing the same. That this is what I do. What I like in the game. You will not see nothing in the browser. If you check the console,
Technically broken.
it's broken. If you check the open the inspector, with Windows it's like F12. Should open it right away. And if you go to console, refresh the app, and then you will see there will be a bunch of red. It's not there.
Can you show the previous one? Show the long one.
The long one, right? Where you are lost, maybe I can.
No, just in the end. So.
Okay. Can we move or we should take that? What about CSS? Was you able to copy it?
Colleague over here kind of had a question. What are we defining when we write that small? What is that?
Small is one HTML tag. Here. Oh, no, here. Small is like this one.
Oh, it's class.
So, no, it's not a class. In HTML, when you are referring to class, then you are starting with dot. When you are just starting it, then you are referring to tag. The HTML tag. This is it's kind of misleading, but it's standard CSS selector. Okay. I guess you are done with CSS. Now we should fix that error you see with so we are moving to app.use.ts file. In line number 3, we are importing forms menu. That's something that probably you will have to add. So we are saying Angular import forms module from Angular/forms. And afterwards, when it's line number 3 is added, line number 15, we are adding forms module to imports. Basically letting know Angular that it should use it. I think when you're doing for forms menu, then afterwards, when you start to type here forms menu, autocomplete should kick in. Also to help a little bit to you. Can we? Let me know. Those who are copying, let me know.
So we need to add on number 3, yeah?
No, number 3. Number 3 is importing with it. Then you have to number 15. You have to add forms module here too.
Forms.
After browser module.
Yeah.
You have to add forms module too. Because you know, here you're just importing it. Here you start to use it. If you would like import, then it's like hanging in the air. Okay, let's move forward. What's next? Oh, a new component to do in theory. From now on, in theory, now you should be able to run the application locally. And in theory, you will just see this input field. You can enter text, and when you hit, then nothing happens. The text is disappearing from the input field. Check maybe you have some unsaved files, for example. When you have this round sign, it's unsaved.
Still giving me that error.
In some old cases, you just have to the HTML, close the HTML file, and open it.
Okay, where was it?
Move under this components HTML.
Okay.
Okay, could it be that you copy paste the HTML content in this row 1?
That is very possible.
Could you copy the content from the other one? Okay, it's still doing. Save this one, please. Let us move to modules. This one. Forms module is important. And go up that I would like to see your imports. Forms module. Wow, that's strange. Strange. And I see here also the box. Can you browser?
Yeah.
Strange, I don't get it right. So. We remove this thing, so we just
commented that.
yeah, then it's not important. Just to know maybe it's doing some weird stuff. And then it's the forms module is imports. Forms module is imported from Angular forms. Let's save it. Let's see what is used. It's not calling as well.
No, it's the right ones.
It should be.
No.
Okay, we created our components. First component. Here is the command line code for the second one. As we are quite short in time, 1.5 hours passed, I would propose you that from now on I will just do some gibberish talking and you follow on me. You have the Git access, you can download the whole source code from starting from beginning till the end of the application. application. And then, so you see how it would be in practice. And now I will switch more to the presentation stuff because there is a lot of still to do. And if you can keep this pace with me, it's okay, but I would prefer now just to speed up it a little bit more. I mean, it's evening, probably you would like to go home to some pub to visit your family, girlfriend, wife, etc. So, yeah, so creating that next component, I would name this component like to-do item, the same approach as before, like generating component on the components folder. It's called to-do item without specifications. By the way, why on the components folder? Otherwise, everything would be in source folder and it would be like long if you have a bigger application. So it's wise like defining it by component services and categorize. Even under components, you can like do subfolders where you create your own, like, I don't know, user interface, customer interface, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. The content of other list component, what I would add beside the basic code, what is generated by Angular, I create this onItemClicked function. If you remember, we somewhere before we had like enter.key equal to add function. We will have now a button later on, actually two buttons. One is for marking done, and the other is for delete. And those buttons will call this function, handing over an item. And just for sake, I console logout it, and also in the end, I console logout. And based on the incoming item's case, if it's done, then I do mark the item. And the item index, incoming item index, I pick one from to-dos array and set its done parameter to equal true. Then in this line, what I do here, I do splice one, I splice one, and that one I push to the to-dos. So basically, if you have an array, I take one out, and push it to the bottom, move it down on the list. Delete, simply splice one, and everybody is happy. How I would add this add to-do item to the add and list component. So we created this add to-do item, add and list component. You created also, this is something. So there where we have the input, below input I say add a to-do item. This is something new, ng4. Item, we have this click event, because I'm not named my function like no. I have here a listener click event, later on we will define it, and then calling the onItemClicked function, and I'm passing the event to what Angular will do with this $event, it would pass the item itself. The item. ng4 says that all the way the length of to-dos array, we find to-do one variable called to-do, and here also define one variable called e, which is equal with the array's index. So for the first one it would be 0, and for the last one it would be length minus 1, as array iterators are starting from 0. Here with the square brackets, I push to item variable, I am adding the to-do value. To the index, I'm adding the e that I have defined here. So to-dos go to the item, index go to e. So this is the to-do item components TypeScript file. To be able to receive variables, as I called it like here, in the index, I have to define input types. So I have to first import input, then I, with this add input decorator, I'm defining item and index. Basically, I'm telling the components that these variables will get values from outside. It's something like making a function variable public. If I want to output something, I have to import also the output decorator, and with output decorator, I name my variable click event. I define it as event emitter of array any type. This is an event emitter. Also, I have to import it to be able to use it. And since here I imported onInit, I have to say that my to-do item component implements onInit, and this is a special case. If I do like implement onInit, then I have to have a function called ng-onInit. At the moment it's blank. Also with the constructor it's blank. We will later on have some interaction with it. We have two functions, done and delete. Basically, we are calling this click event, and we are emitting an array, or sorry, an object with different values. We are passing up to the parent the item itself and the case what we want to show. Questions so far? Okay. Let me see the component HTML. Yeah. I have a closing div with list group item style, then I have a row, and then I have the item with some brackets in it, square brackets and the ng style. Actually, this is a directive. Directive controls the part, giving instructions, as its name says, it's giving instructions to Angular. This is a so-called primary attribute directive because it doesn't change the DOM. But it says it's like conditionally applying text decoration text. If item is done, this kernel operation is doing like if item is done, then use the text decoration. No, if setting the text decoration CSS. If it's done, then use line through. If it's not done, use none. And here we have once again an example of string interpolation. We are defining two buttons, which are listening on the click event, calling the done function, and the first button is like disabled when item is done. There is no need to not disabled, but it has disabled class. It's no need to click once again if it's disabled. And we have the delete call also with click event listener. Moving to Angular directives, what I mentioned before with the ng style, we have like ng style, ng class. These are like attribute directives because they are not changing the DOM. We have like ng4, which we use to define to call the list item. What ng4 is called DOM modifier directive. It's a modifier directive because it's modifying the DOM. For example, for the ng4, if the array has 5 elements, then it will add 5 times to the DOM, the components template. Ng-if is also like conditional. If something is equal to true, then show, otherwise not true. We have also ng-show. The difference between ng-if and ng-show that ng-if will only create the element in the DOM if it's true. ng-show will create the element but not show. It will show when show is equal to show. So if show is equal to false, it will create the element but not show. Ngif will not create the element if it's false. And also there are a lot of like those directives. Angular services. Would it be nice if we are same with components? If we have something like repeating and we could have it on one central place? Would it be data manipulation, or my favorite example is console log? We just have it console log like it is, but imagine that we have some structure with the console log where first we click, we print out the name of the in which function it was called, then adding some values, etc., etc. And it's over the application. So then we think, oh, I should remove the name of function where it's called. Okay? And this means for me that if we have console logs, then we should go all the way through the application and edit every console log. Now, if we would have a service for doing console log, and we are calling the service itself everywhere, then we would just have to edit on the service once, and it's everywhere the same. So this is why, and also service is great for data manipulation, data usage. We will use it like so in the application. As many components, single service can be reused for specific tasks. Yeah. How do we create a component? We say ng create under services service ng create under services folder. I name my services to do, and once again specification I set to false. Here, when I create services like so, still I have to add manually to the app modules. So I import it like my to-do service. Later on we will see that I named it to-do service. I name it like services from services to-do service. And on the providers, I think till now providers was an empty array. I just got to-do service. Importing service in the app in component will make it available for the component and all its child. So we are imported it in the topmost component, it will be available for all. But if you imagine a tree root, we could even import it everywhere, and then for parents, this service will not be available. Okay, the content. I import injectable because I want my component to be injectable. I add the injectable decorator, name it like to-do service. I declare a private to-do array, add the to-do function, more or less the same we had before, with one small difference that I have randomly generating this number for ID, and I do use _ID. This is because of Node.js for MongoDB, this is the default ID field. I can use a different ID field, but then I have to state it to Node.js that MongoDB. Node.js is, I don't know why it's coming to my mind. So by default, this is one. We have this get to-dos, which is returning the to-dos array, and we have this get item index, which we will later use in our code. Second part, on item clicked, doing the same as described before, based on the case condition. It's if it's already done, do nothing. If it's not done, else mark it done, push it to the array or to the end of the array. If we are speaking about delete condition, then just delete one and leave the constructor empty. Importing services in add and list component. I know that I mentioned it in app modules, but still, if we want to want to refer to it, it has to be imported. I declare a variable of type. Here, for the first time, I have to use the constructor. In the constructor, I have incoming variable type service, to-do service, and I set this local to-do service to be equal to to-do service. In the add-to-do function, before it was like, if the to-do is not empty, then push to local to-do folder. Now we are calling to-do service and add to-do function. And also here we clear the local values and we get the to-dos. On item clicked, before we have a switch case, we are just now passing event to the service, and get to-do is just getting the to-dos from the service. Routing. We have two types of routing. One is server side, and it's always this is one not happening first. Before that, questions about services? No. Okay. So was it like clear, or it was like I'm not sure. I will leave with the second one. Routing. There are two types of routings. Server side, it's important to know that it's always happening first, and it's like first the browser resolves some magic that IP address of the web server, and then the web server request is coming to the web server. It resolves to what it has to resolve. Send back if it's found, it would be send HTTP code 200. It's there, it's okay. Or 404 if it's not found. Client-side routing. It happens after server-side, so it happens after you get the application from the server and another app is initiated. It only looks like routing, so the browsers, the path where you enter addresses, it's changing, but actually, if you would look on developer tools, network tab, there is no communication between client and server. And app breaks an unknown path. For that, we will also have a solution that on unknown path, it will send us back to the path that we would like to have. And yet, for routing on the server side, we should have also logic that if it's like unknown path, not recognizable by the server, maybe instead of 404, it should send back the index, the default one. Our routing looks like we have to import router module into the app module TS. We're defining a constant called routes. We have defining a path to route, and we are defining component. So if I go to this route, it's an empty one, then please add this component to the page. And this is the magic. Here, if it goes to unknown path, then it will redirect to here. It will redirect to the base on the server, on the client side. There are some additional parameters here like child, and for the child, speaking about child of the path, and the same conditions apply here, and we have like full path name parameter named full path, which can be equal to true. If we are speaking about full, for example, I have path like slash something, and I set to full path equal to true, then slash something else will not be equal. Actually, you can put here defining a path and regular expression. Yeah, and the new thing is coming in the app component. Here you have before like app other list component. We have here defining router outlet. Basically, we are telling the application that based on the route he's using a component, and he should put that component here. As we are changing the route, the component gets changed, but we are on the same page. Okay, let's create a component to do details. Same as before, I would not go in details. Just adding a new route. I'm calling it detail, and this is how with semicolon I define path parameter. In to-do services, I create a new function get to do. My ID, I know that I generated the ID like with some math function, and it's for sure number, but for me, it's for some reason it gives some errors, so I had to like force it as number. Later on, it has to be removed because Angular's mongodb's ID is object ID type. It's a string. And in the to-do item component, I add this new directive called router link, and it says when it's an action when I'm clicking on this div, it would route me to details and added with the elements ID. To the details component. We are speaking about details of what to do. We have to import, as usual, component onity, activated router, and to-do service. We declare 4 variables as item itself, the to-do service, activated route, and router, which are these types. And when we mark the item itself as done, we call the to-do service on it and click it with case equal to done. And we call the close function, what we will later on define. On delete, the same action, just in delete case. With close function, we call the router type variable, and we say, hey, you should navigate to there. Basically, we're moving back. But it could be any. In the constructor, I init all those variables that are required, and ng on init. This is important. We say that for the activated routes, take params and subscribe on changes. When change happens, then this is a TypeScript or ES6 function declaration. When it param changes, then this item should be equal to do item and params ID. This ID is equal to that ID that I declared in the constant routes, and get to do by ID. This is how the component template looks like. I made it conditional that until the item is not loaded, nothing will happen. Loading a lot of data from local doesn't mean, but if we are speaking about communication with server, until it's waiting for the server, it's better not to show anything that's supposed to show something, some not related stuff. What we have here, what's new? String interpolation is I speak about. There we have a click listener, click listener, click listener. Under list components, I have to import onInit. I have to say to them that it implements onInit, and on onInit, I have to say that this to-dos is equal from to-do services get to-dos. We are moving to backend. Huh? At least halfway done. Is it okay? So
Yeah.
if somebody can read it, feel free to type it in, but I'm just joking. Node.js, running JSON server, how JavaScript, how we start. Here I would like to ask you, if you would do it manually, I would ask you to create a new folder, structure, move there and say add node package manager init. It would create an empty packages.json file, more or less empty file. It will have some questions that you have to answer during while you are doing. Then I will say npm install -s or --save the issue previously -s. I'm saying install body parser, express and mongoose, and this would be added to the package JSON. Then I say npm install as development dependency node monitor. So this development dependency would mean that it would be only installed for you, and if you build it for the production one, then this package is not included. And touch index.js. Actually, I'm not sure if this touch command will work for Windows. It just creates an empty file. How index looks like. Requiring express, as you can see, it's like name like this. If we are declaring like this, requiring like this, then it will look for the node modules folder, and it will search there if we have express or body parser mongoose. Then I am declaring an application. I'm setting port for the application. I'm saying that application should use body parser and convert body to JSON. Application should use body parser URL coded, and application should listen on port number. And when the listen is successful, we are speaking about Node.js. In Node.js, everything is asynchronous, so everywhere you have to have callback functions, which are like declaration of functions. When the main function is done, then the callback function is done. So my callback function is here, just a console log that our server is listening on port. Now, if you would call this in the browser or anywhere, you would get an error because no routes are defined. It's there, it's listening, but there are no action taken yet. You can start it with nodemon index.js. It's starting. The good thing with nodemon, that's why we added as development dependency, that it will monitor for every changes, and if you do changes, it will automatically restart your server, same as with ng-serve. So let's expose basic part on the root.js app. Also, roots folder will not exist. We create a roots folder, there are an app.js file. Also, to combine files together, group files by actions. I'm defining express. Then under express, I'm calling router function. Actually, if I look, since express is only called like here, I can skip this line and do like var uproot equal to require express dot router function. It would do the same. And we say uprooter get, when we get the back basic, call a callback function, console log that this is called, and send out a response with status 200. Send out, it works. It would just send out this. No HTML, nothing, just that. The callback function, correct? Request response. Actually, here I would be able to chain functions. By chain functions, I mean that I would be able to add here a function, but for that function, I would need to add a third parameter called next. And that next would call this function. For the last function, we do not have next. But I can add like here a function which is doing like just console log, and then call next, then next would call this. And I export uprooter at the end of the file. In the index file, I import uproots. As you can see now, I'm referring to file itself. No need for nodejs file extension. And here I say to application that it should use for this part, it should use uproots. Now, if you would call it in the browser, you would see it works. Connect to database. There is this mlab.com. They are providing option for you register there, and then you get 500 megabytes of space on MongoDB. And you would get there, you would have to create a user, and then with that user, it would be somewhere placed on the browser window connection URI. How do you can connect to, sorry that I'm facing my web view. How do you can connect to the application? You have to change user here and password here. And with these two commands, the upper one is for Windows, the lower one for not Windows operating systems. You are exporting this MongoDB URI as part as a variable operating system path variable. Generally, it's a good idea to have these kind of variables, not as a previously I was hard coding port number 4000. It's better to having these kind of variables than it's like on my machine it could be 4000, on your machine it could be 2000. It's up to your setup. But if you have it hard coded in the code, it's like not so flexible. Yeah. And then we create a config folder under that DB, and it's like 3 lines where we export the URL, which is equal to process. Process is the variable referencing the running Node.js process itself, and calling for the env and MongoDB what we have exported. Yeah, here I have to note that this, since we added an environmental variable, node monitor will not know this, and you have to stop node monitor and start it right away, and then he will know the new value. To import configuration, database configuration, we just require it, like we did it with roots. And connect to database. I define my variable as mongoose connect to URL, did callback function error or response. If error, then I console log that something went wrong, and I'm exiting from the application itself. If there is a success, this is what I moved here. I moved here the listener, up listener. So basically, I start to listen on port, only then web port, only listen to them when the database connection is successful. No need to run the web server if there is no database behind, right? Let's see some crude APIs. Crude stands for crude stands for who's knowing it? Crude, what stands for? Okay, let's start. Create, read, update, delete. Does it make sense? Okay, so before we would create those kind of APIs, we have to define models. Models are like MongoDB is not, when we are speaking about MongoDB is not referring to data as tables and rows if we would speak about some relational databases, but the terminology in MongoDB is models and document. Document is one, documents is a multiple item of it. So model would be the table, and document would be one row in the relational table. This is how we define models. Yeah, I have to import Mongoose. I have to import, for Mongoose, I require a schema type. I declare it as my to-do as new schema, which has at the moment two params, two columns. One is type string, default something went wrong. Actually, you do not have to specify the default one, and if you do just specify the string, then you do not specify like an object here, but you just write here string. Done is typed like boolean, and default is equal to false. I don't have to specify the ID field because it will be automatically added by Mongo to it. And I export some static functions. One is find by ID. Well, I'm passing a search query to database. So I'm saying to please find one where the search criteria is equal to this. And I have find all. I say find where the search criteria is like empty. And I'm calling the callback function. And I export model to do as to do. Let me see. Control as to do.js. So we define the model. Now we define the controller how to interact with the model. We require the model, Mongoose to-do schema, and export function like find all. Here we have request response, because if we come to find all, if there are no errors, then we send out. If there are no errors, then we send out the data line. If there are errors, then console log for us, and we send out for status. Basically, the same would apply for the find by ID, with the difference that here I'm referring to the request object inside the parents object and to the ID parameter. With add, I'm checking if request has a body. If request has no body, basically I know that is sent to server, then it makes sense to create, makes no sense to create an empty document. If it's there, if body exists, then I create a new to-do schema based on body, and I save it. And if everything went well, I'm just sending back the new created object. With the delete, I call the remove function, remove it by ID. If it's successful, just send the info out. If there is an error, do error update to do. Here I am checking if body is existing, and also request parameter ID is existing. Maybe the secure one, also most secure option would be to check that request.body.id is equal to request.params.id. You know, just to double check if the same object ID and object was sent. I'm here telling to Mongoose that find one, update it by ID, send this data to update, and upset false and new equal to true. So create new upset would be that. What would be upset? Something that's like strange. These two is like cutting each other up. Upset would be update, insert it if not found. Let's add controllers to router. This is the new part here. So if I'm posting something to do, not that just done. Here I'm referring to the to-do controller. what we had created before, this long one. And when I'm posting to /todo, then call to-do controller of to-do. Here we are speaking about, once again, about function chaining. Here I would be able to add a number of functions. For example, authentication, after authentication, authorization, and just the end to do. Here the put method is called. Here the path param ID is collected. Pass a request to update to do, and the same applies for the rest. For the delete, get all, and get one by ID. So for some reason, Angular started to complain me about cross references. This cross, sorry, I have to pronounce it. So I just added these response headers, send these response headers, get, put, post, delete. So it's like working and not complaining anymore. Okay, we are getting closer to finish. Implement Node.js to APIs to Angular. What we have to do first is to import HTTP module into Angular and add HTTP module to imports. In to-do services, we are importing HTTP response map from Reactive.js and subject from Reactive.js subject. Yeah, if you check to do, it was before like just push to do to local to do's variable. Now it's like calling the HTTP post. Right here it's like very stupid because we have hard coded the backend, and it's like not good idea. It would be better to use some configuration files and store there. Here just referencing to that, but I don't know. In scope of this course, it has to be a little bit simpler. We have passing the to-do, and it's false by default. Even if we would not pass the to-do value, it would be false because in the model we define default value for it. Here we have this map function. This is crucial because from the post we get back a response type. And if we would like to work with the response, then we have to transform response to JSON. And we are subscribing to output of map. And when this goes to subscribe, when data arrives, we push this data local to-dos and let the application knows that to-dos has been changed. To-dos has been changed is a new subject type. It's something like an event emitter we used like 10 slides before, but it's mostly used for HTTP function. On it and click here I close the switch and case condition. Basically, depending on the case we are calling, in the next line we will call delete. Get to do here I change it, remove the number, casting to number because it's like object ID type anymore. Sysname, and I'm returning one particular to do. New function is this fetch to do's. This is to get all to do's from the server, same transform as map as before, and when it's done, all to do's is equal to data. I just let the application know that to do's has been changed. And in the construction, I define HTTP. This is add and list components. Yes, I add new one, the subscription, because we have to listen that tools has been changed and respond the web service with what has gone through. Also define like subscription here. And on ng on it, we are not calling anymore to-dos from to-do service, but we fetch. We are not waiting for fetch to finish, but we are subscribing to to-do service, to-dos changed. And when it will fire, then we will say that the data, actually defining here data is obsolete because we don't use data. We will say that to-dos are equal to to-do service get to-dos. Here the to-do service to the local to-dos, it's written when the web service is done. And important is ng on destroy. Probably I missed, but on destroy is also called imported here. And this is because if you are moving from page to page, then the component itself gets destroyed from the memory, but its subscription is not. So if we are moving a lot, sooner or later we will do memory overflow because memory will be full. So we have to unsubscribe on destroy and Angular, then it clear it from memory. Yeah, just for this. So we are getting closer. About Angular, Reactive.js, Node.js, Bootstrap, and mongodb. So shortly, I would show the application just to prove it's working. And if you have questions, I'm listening in the meanwhile. Let me just know. Where is my mouse? Here's my mouse. Okay. In the meanwhile, what I did, like in Git, I'm moving to the most recent commit. I already have my app running. No backend is there, so I have to start my backend application too. And in theory, I said in theory, if I would do just start the tag here. Oh. Okay. Something is not working as I would like to have. Huh? Beauty of life presentation, right? Let me see, this is the backend. What is? Tell me what went wrong. I get some. Why this? So, okay. Shame on me, shame on me. Let me see what my backend says to me. Ah. I would like to move my editor windows to that screen, but for some reason doesn't allow me. It says that error connecting to MongoDB, username, password, non-Mongo network error, failed to connect to first, blah, blah, blah. So I have some issues with connecting to the database itself.
Could be a problem on their end.
It could be so, but I would be quite surprised. They are quite stable about that. I'm restarting my backend. Still starting, so I guess it will not work. Oh, shame on me. Yeah, it's still good. I'm sorry, it get timed out. I can. And maybe you can tell me that if there are some ports blocked by Wi-Fi. In theory, because I'm about to connect to port number 13,799, and it says that it's timed out. Maybe it's a port. It's blocked out. I don't know. So, what should I say? You should believe me that it's working. You know, yesterday it was working. I don't know what happened. And yeah, questions so far?
Yeah, how do I learn all that? Yeah, where did you learn to do all the programming?
What do you say? It's quite a long story. I'm taking my chairs to sit down.
You can propose guys to join us tomorrow at Riga Coding School. I guess this event will be open, and then Janos will share his experience about remote worker, and then it could be like partially answer to this question.
Short things. I will try to be short, so let's start with 2008. At that time I started with Oracle. Actually, I am like a certified Oracle database administrator. Well, I was just Oracle and some months certification to get too old. And I was not focusing just as an administrator, but Oracle Apex, and it's like a web framework to create applications. It was using a lot of JavaScript. From JavaScript, we started to use jQuery, and then after jQuery, let's say this commitment to JavaScript had shortened. And then that's the part how I moved to JavaScript. All these stuffs you can find a lot of examples on the internet. Just typing mean for dummies or mean examples. As we are live, I would not mention there are some online schools that I will tell. Online schools, academies, or courses that you can take. There are some cheap ones, there are some less cheap, there are some good ones, there are some bad ones, and you can also follow some courses. And like 3 years since now, something like that, I'm also actively working with Angular. Mostly I'm working with Angular 1.some, but it's getting obsolete. I wouldn't say obsolete, but it's a version of Angular. And when I created the presentation, I thought so that it would be better to create something that's close to the recent one. With Angular 5, this is Angular 4. With Angular 5, in theory there should be not much differences between 4 and 5. It would start faster. But I have no experience with them, so I would not dare to do something with that. I have no experience. This was shortly. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, sure.
Any questions, maybe from online?
No.
If you ask you.
There are 5 online, and mainly
They know.
we more or less know them.
Okay.
So we can say hello to them.
I would say then hello to the online viewers, followers. Followers, much nicer.
They asked to retype question asked for the online audience because they didn't hear the question.
It was where I was learned. Where I learned JavaScript, all this stuff, and let's say my professional part. I guess that they hear me.
Yeah, but I also typed it.
Just to have it in written. If you would go for some online courses, usually they are like longer. Here we had a limited time, and I tried to squeeze in. I wanted to show something practical on the beginning, that you have the feeling, because if you would like listening, I'm quite sure that with this last part where I was just speaking and was watching me, it didn't have so much memories that with typing.
Yeah.
But if you would do with typing, it would be like at the middle still. So if it's no questions from the online side, then I will close for online one. I would say goodbye for our trusty followers there, and see you next time. Bye bye.
Camera is off.